Live, late-breaking, investigative. This is More in the Morning on KCTV 5.
The season of summer is ending and fall will begin, but it's also the season for apples, and Matt Stewart shows us how to make a delicious apple dessert.
September is the time to harvest apples, and we have a great apple recipe for you this morning. I'm joined this morning with Gina Reardon from Catering by Design, and you have, an apple tart recipe you want to share with us?
I do. They're individual apple tarts with apple butter. It is cinnamon whipped cream. It's a wonderful dessert. You'll love it.
Okay, tell us how to make it.
Well, we're going to start with puff pastry. So this is a great recipe for apples, especially if you are not comfortable making your own pastry.
So just take it, and you've got a box here, Pepperidge Farm,
Farm.
so obviously something you can get at a grocery store, no big deal there.
Pepperidge Farm sells pastry by sheets. I probably let this thaw too long. It usually takes about 30 minutes at room temperature.
So is it frozen, and then you take it out, sit it out for 30 minutes, and
then it
comes apart? No
yeah, very easy to work with, but this is fine. What we're going to do is roll it out with a rolling pin.
A little flour underneath so it doesn't stick.
Yeah, I always use a pastry cloth with a rolling pin cover and a little bit of flour rubbed into the cloth, and that way the pastry doesn't absorb too much flour to make it tough to work with.
Okay.
It'll stay nice and flaky. And then what we're going to do is we need a 5-inch circle. So I'm using just a lid of a...
Can I try this?
Yes. So you're just going to use that as a guide.
So you cut around it.
Right.
I hope I'm doing this okay.
That's perfect.
I guess there's no right way or wrong way to do it as long as it tastes the same, right?
Exactly. You could just as easily use a cutter if you have one that size. This is a perfect single serving. Or you could use a bread and butter plate.
So that's kind of the base of the tart.
Exactly. So we're going to put it on a parchment-lined baking sheet.
Okay.
And then you can make your own apple butter. But this is it's not too sweet. It's very cinnamony. Put a couple of tablespoons on each tart. Smooth it to about half an inch or so from the edges.
Half an inch from the edges.
Of the pastry.
Excellent. Now, as we do this, what is the next step?
The next step is to overlap slices of fresh apple. I'm using Granny Smith's in a concentric circle. Here, let's move this down here.
Now, you have a very interesting way of paring these apples. Why don't you go ahead and demonstrate that really quickly?
Well, it's very much the old-fashioned way. I just use paring knife, cut the apple into quarters, core them.
And we must warn folks at home, be careful if you're doing this, cutting towards yourself, because obviously, if you're not very experienced or you don't control that knife, you could get cut.
You could, but
you don't.
I don't.
You're
I
good.
do my best. So we're going to slice the apples into thin, even slices.
You're braver than I am, Gina.
Well, I think you could do it just fine, and I'd be happy to pass the knife over to you if you'd like.
No, I'll let you do this this part of it.
Okay.
That's no big deal at all.
Putting
it on.
We're going to put the apple slices on the tarts, overlap the apple slices.
You just go around in a circle.
Right, and you want it to be kind of tight in the center like this,
okay,
so that you can get the tart fully covered.
I'll do mine.
Yeah, you do that one. I'll do this one. And if you were doing this early in the day, you would take it to the very next step, which is to brush it with butter, and then you could refrigerate it for a while. So
now, why would you want to refrigerate it?
To keep the pastry nice and cold. Puff pastry is a lot of butter and flour. If it gets too soft, then it's not going to get the same rise as if it's cold.
Okay. So now it's done. You would put it in the oven, or would you...
First, we have to brush it with melted butter.
I can do mine. Wonderful. And I'm guessing this paintbrush is solely used for butter.
That's right.
So you put the butter on this.
Yeah, try to get all the edges.
Oh.
Got it.
So now in the oven.
Now we're ready to go. They're going to go in the oven, 375 for 25 minutes.
Okay.
And then at the 25-minute mark, we're going to pull them out, brush them with butter again, and bake them for another 10 minutes.
And that is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven.
This is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. So they're nice and golden. And the next step is very simple. Just going to sprinkle them with a little bit of superfine sugar, just to give it a little bit of sweetness.
So you put the sugar on there, and then
and it'll just melt on the apples, and that's all there is to it. Now, you ready to try one?
We have some cream, right?
We do.
Cinnamon cream?
What I'm going to do is transfer these tarts to a plate.
Okay. Yeah, they look so good and so fresh.
Thank
and healthy,
you.
too. I mean, all things considered, not a very fattening dessert.
Exactly. You've got a very light pastry and not a lot of sugar on this. As you can see, the only added sugar was what we sprinkled on top.
Right.
And then the apple butter beneath the apples. This is cinnamon whipped cream. Good.
All right, I want to try this. So just take a fork and let's just cut this up. This is excellent. It just melts in your mouth.
Thank you.
So really a great recipe for all you folks out there. Of course, the apple picking season's right now. Yeah, it is a great recipe. It tastes so good. It's the apple butter that really does it. We have redesigned our website. We want to let you know. So you might not be able to find the recipes for these dishes that we're doing right now, but we do plan on putting that on our website, hopefully a little later on this week, so you can look for that. Anyways, a new